You're watching an Inauguration Day special on Arise News. Now, President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assured Nigerians that he would deliver on his campaign promise to set Nigeria back on the path of growth. He made the remark at the inauguration dinner at the State House Conference Center in Abuja. Mr. Tinubu said that there would be no room for excuses as his administration tackled issues facing the country, including corruption, poverty, and policy inconsistency.
Here is a country that has stumbled a number of times, but we never faltered. We can be squeaky like old mama's car, but we will never break apart. We are just a unique country. That is why the motto was at last. Things are there that we must fight. Yes, corruption, poverty, inconsistencies in policy, and many other problems confronting us. But don't pity me. I asked for the job. I campaign for it. No excuses. I will live up to the bill. I promise you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, joining us in the studio is Arise News analyst, Dr. Sam Amadi. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy May 29.
Thank you.
Okay, so you just listened to those words from the incoming president. It's safe to say that,
yep,
on a day like this. Great points. He also talked about corruption, and your response, you know, while we're off the air, quite like, don't even go there. Right, that he talks about inconsistencies in policy, and he says, don't pity me, I campaigned for this, I asked for this job, having spent most of my life seeking to be president of Nigeria, and here he is, about to be sworn in as president. Let's even talk about that, because a lot of people, you know, looking back would say that, look, former leaders, whether you know, heads of state, military heads of state and presidents, really have never come to this job asking for it or seeking for it or fighting for it. But in this case, it's different with Tinubu.
Sure.
He always wanted this job, which means he should have been prepared, you know, to carry on the baton.
I think clearly, you know, all is being equal, he is the most prepared for this job. If you look at 2 times governor of the most complex state in terms of both volume of transaction, in terms of complexities of urbanization, traffic, whatever, poverty. He ran it 10 years, 8 years, and creditably well in terms of basic measurables, okay? I mean, there are questions some of us have around the poverty, rich versus poor, you know, the other Lagos. You go to maybe outside the beautiful Lagos for the rich, the poor. So there will always be the questions around how a government manages to equity. Maybe even more so now that it was after he left, the successors, I think, compounded the problem of poverty in Lagos. If you look at the Human Development Index, not necessarily him, but perhaps those who followed, the template of neoliberal reforms and so much around enterprise and the rich affected. But he did a great job on that, okay? Again, he has been a kingmaker and has not stayed away from power and from governance. To his credit, he has been always at home, always in Nigeria, except for medical checkup and treatments. So, in a sense, he should understand some of the basic issues and has been in conversation with many technocrats at different levels, either those he brought up or those who are associated with him. And so the claim that he's the most prepared in that sense of exposure is not, it's true, it's largely true. Again, He sound gung-ho. I mean, I like the fact that he said, look, don't pity me. He said, Emiloko, give it to me, it's my turn. In spite of evident ill health, he campaigned vigorously. So there's grit and persistence. Not give away, not you can't take it from him. And so at this moment of correlation, he says, you guys have got to where, there's always an element of, some would say arrogance, but confidence at least, or arrogance, depending on how you look at it, with Asiwaju Amadi Tinubu. It says that it's me. And so he has got it, and he has embraced it with his chest. He has embraced that challenge, that glory, that honor, and say, don't pity me, I asked for this and I got it. Then the issue around corruption. You know, Buhari was elected largely on the profile and acknowledgement that if anybody could fight corruption, there's a guy. The man. Because he was framed, branded, and of course, up to then, we didn't have incidents of credible allegations against him. Then he came, and then suddenly he recycled all the corrupt people back to his cabinet. One of his signal failure.
We can say some of the corrupt
people.
Some,
not all, it can't be all, sure. What I mean, some of the corrupt people, whether in terms of proving in court, and Nigeria has this argument about have you been convicted, as if, I mean, in the US elsewhere, when they say somebody is corrupt, I'm not sure Trump has been accused, convicted in any court seriously. But many people perceive that probably he is somebody whose persona would not resonate with clean politics. So when we talk about these corrupt persons, we mean that persons who have been seriously alleged or EFCC has proceeded against them, you brought them back to occupy key positions. So Buhari compromised the war against corruption. And it's not now a surprise that people are now saying probably the most corrupt regime in the country. People are now flagging real corruption in terms of whether it's project that is just a scam, you know. So when Asiwaju Amadi Tinubu, whose campaign was dogged by serious arguments about corruption, it has to be clear, a clarity of message. Okay, fine, we are a corrupt breed, like Montala did or reportedly did when he came to power. We're a corrupt breed, but today we draw the line.
Right.
We have realized that this wouldn't work. Just like the Chicago kingpins did at a point. The American election was all kinds of big scam everywhere, corruption, you know. And maybe at the point they realized that this is self-mutually assured destruction. And they reinvented politics. So it's not impossible that a corrupt breed can step away from corruption to drive public good. I like the statement that the wife made at the church yesterday. Yeah. And she said, look,
my family does not
need Nigerian money.
Nigeria's money.
She has acknowledged that we are very rich people by Nigerian standard. I mean, it would be a sin for us to be stealing from the people whose previous activities have despoiled, and that, you know, now some kind of atonement. We are coming to use our massive brain power to pick up these guys. I love that speech. So we're not pretending that there's massive corruption here, but we are saying we can go for it. So my worry about corruption messaging on the day of inauguration is that we've gone here, it's déjà vu. We've gone here before, and we got
and if I should comment, I think what Nigerians will not ask the coming president is miracles.
Absolutely.
But they will not take any excuses. So I think he's already gone ahead of what Nigerians will not take from him. He knows. And now, earlier on, we spoke with Professor Adeni, and we're talking about some of the key persons that may come in. I recall then, back in the day when you also served at NEC, we had, you know, experts overseeing so many things to the extent that the private sector and the business community were part of the government in terms of advice. So are we likely, is this something that you would love to see this government, you know, bring back so that the economic management team will not just be peopled by an individual, but by people who have run private businesses and successfully done so too? I
think Tinubu will not lack skilled and competent persons to draw from. I mean, he has experience, like I said, he has been associating with the best and the brightest, either informally. Lagos is, no matter what you say about Lagos, Lagos has the largest concentration, perhaps, of brain power by virtue of activities going on there. So he wouldn't lack people to pick, men and materials to pick. But the issue is political. You know, he has to find a way to reward loyalists. I mean, we had story that Ganduje had to do his own inauguration yesterday
before.
To fly it, so the airspace will be closed, you know, as part of activities to mark that. So to be in, I mean, you're going to have that. You're going to have friends struggling, whether it's Kwakwanso, who he met in Kano, or in London, and Ganduje, who has been his loyalist, whether it's the man from Benue, Akume, who delivered electorally. They gave a governor, gave a president against the run of play. The question is,
or even Rivers, for that matter.
Or well, his own delivery is a little bit, as OBJ said, get K-leg, because, I mean, the tribunal will most likely avoid that. Okay. But the question is, how do you show gratitude? Keep your guys and recognize that this is a moment for governance, that these people who are loyalists may not have the skills, the capacity to drive the agenda you want. So I think what we've seen in history across the world is that Achimwaju is smart enough to do that, to decouple political offices and technocratic offices. So, for example, you can have a minister of power, one of your political guys, okay, who may not have all the skills, but then you have NEC or the front agencies run by technocrats or capable persons, and some kind of signaling that, look, you depend more on these guys, protect them from. Obasanjo did that actually with Obese Kwesere, Rufai, Soludo, agencies, and that's what we advise in terms of policy management, that you decouple the political and the technical in a way that you can keep the political game, bring the big guys on the table, they hold ministries, but you take away from that ministry, you redefine the mandate of agencies such that they are the ones driving the work and they are insulated and protected. So if you do that, everybody goes home. What the political actors want is a day like this. They sit on the front seat, banquets, okay, state events,
okay, so
recognition. But then the technocrats don't really care about that, but they just drive the work. So I think he can make that juggling and get going. Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's talk about his inaugural speech. Remember in 2015, what Buhari told Nigerians. What would be your expectations from what Tinubu will be saying in a way that will inspire Nigerians that indeed this is a new day?
I think I would like him to borrow a script from Yaradua, you know, with honesty about the election. The real issue dividing us today is INEC's bumbling, okay? INEC could have still got the same result, maybe, but if they have done some things better. You see, people disagree on two things. That's the outcome and procedure. You know, we don't know, we don't have all the facts. So, Amadi Tinubu may still have emerged as president. But on all sides, there are terrible results that ought to be cancelled. We are hearing that on some of the parties everywhere across the country, there are things that are done in violation of the electoral process and act and law. That could have been voided. 7 days window, you clean up everything before you finally certify the results. Okay. So, President Tinubu, if he becomes, as he will be to today, can't declare clearly like Yaradua. Say, look, I know that this process has been much vilified. I admit that maybe as our learning curve, we ought to have done better in these areas. And what I promise all of you, because the fear many of us patriots have, it's not about who is president, it's about what happened tomorrow. The precedent, the incentive structure that the electoral, a sham election, builds into the system, so that you see what happened after May 25, on March 18th, it was like bedlam.
After February 25,
after February,
yeah.
March 18th, it was like bedlam across the states. Down ballot elections, people were just doing magics left, right, center. The case of Imo, for example, where I come from. So that's the fear we have.
Yeah, but will he seize the opportunity to give Nigerians a sense of a fresh start, a sense of belonging, that nobody is going to be left behind? We heard from Uhuru Kenyatta that, look, leave the politics, leave all of the election mood and all of that. You are the father of the nation. You have a job.
My point here is that you start there with first, somebody says confession and restitution. Confession is, look, I said, this is unbelievable, okay? What do? I will set up this very reputable waste committee. Kuka, Professor Bolaji Kijemi, all kinds of respected guys were there. Let them go and help us never to get here again. I think Tinubu should start with that. 2, because if he does that, it regenerates a sense that this guy understands what we are worried about. We are worried about a country where elections become shambolic. and there'll be no contestation. Forget the presidency. How about local government chairman? How about House of Assembly? How about the governor? Some governors have done woeful and ought to be kicked out. Then they leverage on electoral brigandage. And I just want to hear about that. They also want to hear, clearly that, look, we're divided people. More so under the last 8 years, and needlessly too. Now, my job is not just to govern effectively, technically, but to bring everyone together and create the right optics. You see, if you look at literature about state stability, it's not just about quality of goods and services. It's about people having a sense of inclusion. And the world is getting more plural, even otherwise thought unified countries, the US, for example. Big issue there now is, how do you make African Americans, whites, who are probably going to be the minority in the next 10 years or 20 years, feel that this country belongs to them? So the question around inclusion, the question around good faith inclusion, and nurturing the grieving part of your body. It's like the body system. If your foot is bad, like or the president's teeth, okay, you have to spend more time in London. So you have to look at those people who have been complaining all this and address their case significantly. So I think Tinubu can use communication to recreate that sense of shared vision for Nigeria. And those people who have been, especially those who didn't vote for you. Now that's the irony about it. When Abraham Lincoln won, and Obama tried to copy that, he brought what called a team of rivals. Now these are guys who ran the presidency against him, some of them like the Treasury guy, the Secretary of State. He brought them together and transformed a moment in American history post the fight over slavery that was divisive. And that's why today he's seen as the best American president. So you need some humility and gamemanship to say, you know what, even those who didn't vote for me, they're the most important group I should target. And so I think we should deflate the triumphalism. People are saying on social media, oh, we told them, where are those criminals? Even those who are with Bola Tinubu and left, like Najatu, they become objects of attack. You're not doing good for the government. So I want to see a speech where Tinubu says, look, I am a great guy. I've done this before. I won this battle. Now, I need all of you. And the biggest, he has done everything. His greatest legacy as a president would be that he leaves a country where people put him in their heart. 8 years is not too far. 4 years or 8 years. Buhari is leaving home now with many Nigerians doing, instead of thump up, maybe doing shege. That's, you have to put the end from the beginning. That really, it's not about I won. After 2-3 years, the victory wears out, and what remains now is people feeling grateful.
Anyway, I think that's a fine place to leave it, but I don't think Nigerians are doing shaggy.
And there are those who are saying...
perhaps...
some Nigerians are doing...
Great leader.
No, that's not for us, because we can't say that now.
I agree with you.
Because, so, Dr. Sam Amadi would like to thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.